So I found Centerpoint probably about a year and a half ago after kind of being in and out of church, me and my wife. We met in church and then kind of got away from church. And then eventually we started bouncing around, and we found Centerpoint because it's like not even half a mile from our house. We did the online thing, the YouTube, a couple times. I was like, let's just go. It's right there, like take that jump. And this is the first church I've been to that I was like, this is home. Like I felt comfortable right away. I felt accepted. I didn't feel judged. Like I've been to those churches where like you step in and people are looking at you like, oh, this guy doesn't belong here. Like that was one of the first things. Like when I walked in, I was like, okay, this is comfortable. Like I can be here. I feel comfortable here. Like I got baptized at this church. I got the pleasures of baptizing my nephews, which is a highlight of my life.
Yeah,
like top 5 moments of my life is being able to do that. My son got baptized here. Like just those things like right there. And then being here, again, I felt like I was family. I felt like I was a member of this church, and them always like asking for volunteers, and I was too scared to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like I just wanna stay in the shadows. And then as I was here, just getting to know people, finally it's like, okay, let me step up. I do Wednesday nights with the youth. Nice. Again, I love doing it. Love dealing with them kids. I felt like it was something I've always kind of had to do. And then I bring my nephews into it, so I get to teach my nephews as well. Just everything about this church has been absolutely amazing for me and my wife. My son doesn't complain. Every Sunday morning, it's like, hey, we're going to church. Cool, let's go. Like we haven't had a single Sunday in a year and a half where he's like, I don't want to go. Like we really got to go. It's like, let's go. Yeah. So I'm loving everything about it so far. Like I can't wait to see where this continues to progress, but it's been absolutely awesome for me.
I listen to you talk about the youth and your involvement with the youth, and I think we're kind of on the other end of the age spectrum. And that's one thing about Centerpoint. They talk about diversity in various ways, but there really is diversity. So even though we're a little bit older, we immediately found a lot of people in our age group. In fact, they started a small group a couple of weeks after we started attending for mature people, and we got into that group. The pastor's father, Dale, is one of the leaders of that group, and it's turned into a really tight-knit family type group, and it's been a great experience. We love the teaching. We've heard all the pastors. We love them all. The music is just fantastic, I think. So it's just home, and I say it is a diverse environment, and the churches say everybody welcome, but I think that's really true. It's everybody's welcome.
That's been a huge thing.
Does the music keep you young?
Yeah.
It does.
He loves it.
I really love it. When I came here, I was a little bit skeptical about contemporary Christian, especially more of the upbeat. And the church where we used to attend, they would have that, but we would stand and I would get tired and sit down. And at Centerpoint, I never even sit down because I just loved it. I love the music.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I've become a real fan.
Yes. And the community outreach is so important to me too, with the fourth Sunday, and that this church actually really does involve the community for real, not just we care about the community. They do it in a tangible way, and I love being a part of that. It's really important to me.
Speaking of the intentionality, one of the things that I often hear, often spoken like almost every month, is that the church should be known for what it's for rather than what it's against.
Exactly.
And I came from an environment where it was heavily known for what it was against, and it was never really focused on what it's for. Like, what are we doing for the city? Like, what are we doing for our community? What are we doing for the people who we're constantly opposing? And that was one of the reasons why I transitioned out of where I was at. And I got to a point where I couldn't no longer hold my questions and my concerns. And I addressed that to my prior pastor at the time. And when I addressed it, it wasn't received really well. It was received as I was being rebellious. And I was publicly shunned from the church that I was at, on the pulpit.
Wow.
With my family, which was unaware of what was going to happen that faithful church service. Yeah. And that was the last straw, because when you're unable to be free to question or to ask or to be concerned about your faith, that's a red flag. That's a major red flag.
Yeah, for me personally, coming to Centerpoint was an accident. It wasn't my original intention. Basically, I, really similar to what Leo was saying, had a lot of experiences growing up, and specifically in church, that were just really toxic and not beneficial at all, to the point where it pushed me away from the church completely. I was just over it. I had no intention of returning. And I went to high school with Jared Davis, and he called me and he was like, hey man, he was like, every bass player that we have at church right now also works in like sound and production. And so this board that's crashed, we have all hands on deck. He was like, would you be willing to give me just 2 Sundays? If you could come and play for 2 Sundays, he was like, I will actively tell people to not even talk to you. Just because he knew that my relationship with church was so fragile. And so he was like, nobody's gonna say a thing. He was like, but if you'd be willing, like it would be a big help. And it's Jared, he's the sweetest guy. You can't say no. So I was just like, okay, yeah, for sure. And like, I was happy to do it. And so I came and it was true. Nobody, when I walked through the door, was like, hey, before you get on the stage, how's your walk? Or what's your relationship with God? And that definitely made me feel welcome. And then, before I knew it, my 2 Sundays were up. And I had gotten to know all of these great people. My relationship with God still never came up once. And I remember when I was packing my stuff and getting ready to go home, I was like, I don't think I'm ready to go yet. And so getting to know these people has been huge. And I think the community aspect of it is what's been big for me, because right now in this moment, I still have days where I'm trying to figure out what my relationship with God is. But I think for the first time, it's okay to admit that, or I feel like it's okay to admit that. Maybe that's faith. I don't know what it is, but the community aspect of it is what's helped me heal and process all of my old hurt, so that now I feel like I kind of have brand new eyes and I can have a relationship with a God that I always wanted to know was there. And for the first time, it feels like a real option. And I don't know, I think that the environment and the family and the friends and everything that we've made from being here it's what makes it worth it to me.
That's awesome.
I feel like it's crazy to like hear. I feel like all of us kind of came to Centerpoint in a way that wasn't like on purpose. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I've always said is just like that, like obviously everything happens in God's timing, but like for each of us, like we all came in a way that was like, he was like, okay, this is where you need to be right now. And that's definitely like how it was for me too. I mean, I was like church hopping before I came to Centerpoint, and Jake worked at Centerpoint at the time, and he was like, why don't you come? Like, why don't you just try it out? Because I was at a church that I felt like when I walked in, like I was just like, ooh, like it just felt weird. Like it didn't feel right. And I came to Centerpoint and I was like you said, like it was like home. Like it just felt immediately like I was like, okay, and like I was safe. And like I think that obviously like God knew like I was craving that safety for what was about to happen in my life, because I was at the beginning of like really horrible mental health struggles. And like I didn't know that was coming. Sorry, I'm not trying to get emotional. But I found a community that allowed me to not be okay. Yeah. And I hadn't felt that before. And I met people who honestly like saved my life. Which sounds like a dramatic thing to say, but it's really true. And it was in God's timing, and he knew that I needed that foundation to start with, so that way when this was about to happen, that like I would be okay. And now, like, I've met people who, like, I want to be in my wedding, like my best friends, and like people I'm like, this is my family. So I feel like it was just like a massive blessing to like that I was able to hear him and be like, okay, like I will go, like I will try this out and see how it is. And like without it, like I don't know really where I would be. So sorry.
No, that's really awesome.